One of the really important things to talk about when we talk about, 7 keys to kicking butt without losing being nice, and that's how we treat employees. You know, when the women built the village, if we had done it in the traditional male manner of how you run businesses, it would not have gotten done in 5 weeks and 5 days. But we did it like women. We nurtured them. One of the carpenters said to me years later when he saw me downtown, he said, I never felt like I felt when we were working for you. He said, everybody else, I was just expected to hang doors and windows. And he said, you came by when we were hanging the first door, and you literally jumped up and down and said, oh my God, our first door, our first door. And he felt so valued and so important because of what he was doing. And because we made everybody feel that way, it would have happened if we hadn't treated them. If we had treated all of these people just like employees, like many businesses do, they would not have felt like they did as far as giving us their all. It was really important. And, we didn't think of it as anything unusual. It was just the way women do things, So every day at 2 o'clock, we'd call them down to one of the long porches and we'd feed them donuts and homemade strawberry shortcake and ice cream cones and whatever. But they felt really valued. And as a result, they gave so much, and they put all the little touches on the village, little scalloped boardwalks and things like that normally they wouldn't have thought of doing. So don't forget that the employees are such they're partners with you. They're not just people that you pay and they come and they go. They're partners with you, and that's really important. When I had the candle factory, I would create a new candle, but I would never have thought of just going out on the floor and saying, here, you're going to make this. Instead, we'd have a pizza party, and everybody would sit around the table, and I'd put the new candle in the middle of the table and say, okay, what do you think? And they'd all work for me long enough that they weren't afraid to say it's really ugly or, you know what, that's going to be hard to ship. Or, we tried that about 5 years ago, remember, a variation of that. And they felt comfortable with saying things like that to me. And I felt really good because they were the ones having to make it, and so it was good that they could come up with the reasons why it would work or why it would be hard to ship or whatever. And so we ran the candle place more like a partnership than, boss and employee kind of thing. And as a result, it worked really well. We didn't have bosses, we had teams. And they created their own teams. We got a huge order in from Coldwater Creek catalog, and we were their Christmas candle for about 7 years. And they sent this huge order in right before Christmas, and everybody had already, said they were going to be off for Christmas, and they came back in and they worked so hard, and it was because they felt valued as a person working there. They weren't just an employee, they were family. And that's really important to keep in mind as you start a business or continue with one you already have. Now here's just another example of making employees feel valued. At Christmas, we always had a Christmas party at the candle factory. And this year, the employees decided that they'd like to go to the casino, which was about 40 miles away. So I said, okay, we'll go. And I said to my CEO, check on the prices of limousines. We could rent limousines and take the employees to the casino. And she was a very practical person. And she was the one that always kept my feet, firmly anchored. And so she said, Lorelei, we can rent a school bus a whole lot cheaper. And I said, but it's just not the same. And when the limousines pulled up and the employees went out and got into those cars, you could just tell by their faces how they were feeling. And it just wouldn't have been the same getting on a school bus. Now here's another example of thinking out of the box. and putting the employees first. I saw an ad in the local paper that said you could fly to London round trip for $99. And I said to myself, wow, what if I take the employees and we go to London for lunch? And so I talked to a travel agent, and she said, well, there are other things too, like going to Jamaica. And I said, where's Jamaica? Because at that time I wasn't up on where that was. And so she showed me that you could rent private villas, etc. So I went back to the factory and I said to the employees, I'm going to give you a choice. We can either go to London and have lunch, or we can go to Jamaica. But I'll let everybody vote. Now, I was so sure that they'd vote the way I wanted, to go to London. And they all wanted to go to Jamaica. I was the only one that wanted to go to London. So we did. We went to Jamaica, rented a villa, and had a great time. I do want to say one word of caution. While most employees work with this system really well and become, part of this cohesive team, every once in a while you get an employee who decides, upon being treated equally, that they're smarter than you are. And you have to watch that and you have to nip that in the bud right away.